Welcome back. I hope you're enjoying these episodes. This is Heather from Into Me, you see. And we dive in, man. We totally dive in. It's real, it's raw. I don't edit, nothing. You get it all. So today I wanted to talk about the empty empath. And there's a lot of buzzwords out there, people relate to it. And for the longest time, I did too. I really did. I'm like, oh yeah, I totally get it. I can feel the vibe of the room. Like, sure, I can totally get the vibe. And, I can see behind people's masks, all that stuff, all of it. I can do it. But the thing that really kind of like, after kind of going through it and seeing it now on the other side, there's a phase that I actually went through that being an empath was just nothing but bullshit. And it kind of is and it isn't. There's two sides to this coin when it comes to being an empath. The first thing that really kind of actually really bothered me is like I actually left some groups on Facebook because it was all like, oh, they did this and I can't handle that. I can't go and do anything because it just is so much. And I'm like, oh, it was disgusting. Like it was just, and I didn't know what the word was at that time, but it just felt awful. And really, what the bulk of population, they believe that being an empath is basically victimization. It is like such an energy of victimhood that I actually almost kind of like rejected it. I'm like, it's just such bullshit. It just gives you a license to be a victim. And now I've kind of like realized way more than that, but we'll get into that. So the whole idea of the victim mentality, the victim consciousness, I think it is an underlying ribbon to the state of the person that claims that they're an empath. And this is my realizations about it. Like usually with the victim, there's always something you've got to save, you've got to rescue something, or you're the victimizer, right? There's that pattern of saving, and believe me, it happens. Like you try so hard. This is how I see this whole thing. As an empath, you try so hard to be the people pleaser and be everything to everyone, especially the situation you're in, that you'll do anything to save them so that they don't reject you. You'll do anything to rescue them so they don't reject you. This is how we try to fit in. And I know it's true because I can think of an incident where this woman that I was working with, she was like pretty mischievous, not very truthful, not in integrity. And I was always like, oh, you got to be careful. You can't really blah, blah, blah. So I was like trying to save these people from this relationship with this woman that she was not who she said she was. Because I can see things like this. And you know what they did? They just ignored it. And it used to piss me off. I'm like, why are you guys not listening to me? Like I'm trying to help you here. But it was this whole sense of victimization because all this stuff had happened. Generally it comes from our childhood. All these things happen. And so here I am trying to save them, and we all know how this plays out, how you try to rescue things. That could play out as in animals. That's how it played out for me. And I can't tell you how many times I was victimizing somebody else. Not like beating them or anything, but just, in a way, I don't even know how to describe it. But essentially, in today's modern definition of an empath is basically the undertone of victim consciousness. And we think that we're the victim when we're not. Because we don't have boundaries. Like there's really a lot of energy mastery that goes into this empath thing. And I, for one, did not have energy mastery because I was easily, by my environment, conditioned into whatever those people needed me to be. And so I would do anything I could to please them so that I could survive, right? It's just that's totally what we're talking about here. So in a relationship, it's interesting how it plays out. I've never actually considered that, how it actually plays out in a relationship. But you could see how that would be such a meddling energy, like to stop your husband from doing this because that person's not very good, or they're just using you. You know what I mean? Like, there is that element of that, and that's kind of like the rescuing and saving kind of thing, so that you don't want them to get hurt, so that things don't happen. So for the longest time, I thought being an empath was just such bullshit, and it really, really actually helped because I was pretty sensitive to animals and things like that. This is where most people feel like they can be really open, and because it's safe, right? You know that they're not going to do anything. You have their trust. Like, it's such a cool dynamic. I could probably talk about that one day in my relationship with horses. But so when it comes to energy mastery and leaving that dynamic of being the victim, your environment is just doing this to you and you can't handle it. It's just such a crock of shit. It's totally down to your energy. And now what I use my empathy for is to become like an oracle in my relationship. I don't let other shit outside influence me. And if I do, then that's on me. I'm the one that has to be responsible for my energy, what I allow in. And when you allow something in like that and then turn around and blame that for your condition, your state of mind, that's the victim consciousness that we're talking about here. So now the way I see it is like, I understand my body, the way my body receives information. I have that innate knowing that, okay, maybe we can just kind of pause and redirect. And so in the dynamic of a relationship, a committed relationship like I'm in, I can use that as an oracle, and kind of like when my husband says, okay, let's do this, and I'm like, okay, so you want to do that, I can kind of get the sense of like the future, and it's like, are you sure you want to do this? Like, what if? So it gives you an opportunity when you have mastered your energy to kind of pause and feel the situation and redirect if you don't like where it's going. And it's so important that we master our energy, because when you actually do that, like I said, you become the oracle in your relationship, and you can actually change the dynamics. You'll have the sense of knowing what he is capable of doing in that moment. You'll have the sense of knowing what he actually needs. That could ease, let's say, like the tension that's going on. Let's say, you're in a situation where typically something would cause an argument. Let's say money. But when you master your energy and you're not in the victim consciousness where you're going to react because somebody's attacking you, you're going to be like, oh, okay, so we're about to have a conversation about money, and usually it's pretty tense. What can I do right now that will ease the tension? And you become aware, and you just follow your intuitive nudges. So there is the two sides to that coin. You can be empowered and make decisions from a place of knowing, or you can be disempowered and make decisions from a fractured ego. You know what I mean? Like, it's just so, I can't stress this enough, how much this is just like how rampant this victim consciousness is, that, oh, everybody's doing this stuff to me. No. There's a part of us, myself included, when I was operating in this sense, a part of me needed to mature. And that's basically the sense of it. And the problem with the empath thing too, I was looking at my notes and I remembered this too, is that we're so busy giving and giving and giving, and we give everything away, and then we're resentful because we're not getting back what we expected. And that's the problem when you're trying to save and rescue people, is that you give so much to try to help them that you get nothing back, then you're resentful. Well, what kind of dynamic is that going to leave? Like, do you think that person's going to be like, want to be around you when you resent them? And trust me, that's exactly what happens, is you resent them for not giving you what you wanted back, because there's an expectation there. There's a motivation there. You're expecting something in return. And the number one thing that distinguishes that empath that's based in the victim consciousness And it isn't anybody's fault. I just want to make this perfectly clear. This is the way things are set up. This is what's acceptable. So nobody has this chance. We're all in this together. It's happened to a lot of people that identify with being an empath. This is just how things are set up. So you can't beat yourself up for it. It's just the way things are. But now that I'm here to tell you, there's a different awareness here that you can actually change this. So in that state of victim consciousness, you're giving and giving and giving. You're giving your power away to help another. And this is not where we want to be. The thing that we forgot when we're so busy people pleasing in this empathic victim consciousness kind of thing is to pull our asses out of that endless cycle, because you're going to be in that cycle for eternity if you don't get the awareness of this. And to pull yourself out of that is to gain a little self-worth and give to yourself. Make yourself the number one, and not in an egoic sense, but for your own sanity and your survival. You know how that expression is when you're in an airplane and they say, put your air mask on first? There can't be anything more truer than that. You cannot go around saving other people without saving yourself first. You need to be a full cup. So put that oxygen mask, give yourself some space, decondition from your environment, see where you're falling into that pattern, because there is that pattern of saving, rescuing, and victimizing. Trust me, it's there. It's true. When you think that somebody's less than you, you will victimize them and you will make them feel like shit. Trust me. So back to the other side of this coin. When you give yourself the oxygen first, then you have the energy, the capacity to actually give without expectation. It's our lack of self-worth that we end up in this position. We need to be full and giving to ourselves and pleasing ourselves, not in an egoic sense, because when you're people pleasing to make other people happy, it's for your survival. That is egoic. That is in your ego. It's going to blow up in your face. You're going to end up in that pattern. But when you give to yourself the love that you need, because that's what you're looking for. You're looking for connection. You're looking for to be part of the group, that kind of thing. And I know it sounds counterintuitive to give to yourself first, but I'm saying to honor yourself, honor your body, honor your heart. And if something doesn't feel right, you can say no. But because we're such a people pleaser and we use this as a scapegoat, we always say, oh, sure, we can do that, when you should have said no. And when you say no to things that don't feel right to you, you're honoring yourself. You're giving back to yourself what you've needed all along, what you're seeking from other people. And what you seek is what you're lacking. And that's what you need to do. You need to come back to yourself and give yourself what you need. And even my previous podcast, I'll be doing one here soon about how the distractions play out in the relationships. I just haven't quite got that far yet. But when you're distracted, and you're distracted by this pattern of victimization, you are seeking something. So if you recognize that you're seeking, you can say, oh, what am I looking for in this moment? Why am I doing this? What do I really need right now? That is honoring yourself. Honoring yourself so that you can fill your cup up, replenish your resources. And then when you come to your husband and he's just like doing whatever it is he's doing, you have an awareness that maybe he needs something, and you can give that without any strings attached and let him do whatever it is he's got to do without feeling hurt. It's such a beautiful dynamic to be in that state, and then you have total mastery over yourself. Nobody's to blame for anything. It's you. It comes down to you, your energy, what you allow, where you're people pleasing, and that'll show up anywhere. And it's okay to say no to shit. Like, it is okay. Sure, some people may not like the fact that you've said no, but do it anyway. It's for your own peace of mind. It's for your own heart. It's for you. You need to honor your energy. You need to honor the parts of you that are seeking something outside of you because you're lacking, and become whole. So when you go from there to here, where you're whole and you can honor yourself, and I know that's not mainstream where you honor yourself, that's just selfish, but it's not. You cannot, like, what if you had a child and you're like constantly burnt out and depressed because nobody's loving you the way you want to be loved, and you know everybody's like against you? What do you think that does to your child? What do you think that does to your husband? Like, that kind of stuff is perpetuated in society, and it's acceptable. And I find that really wild that it's acceptable and people can't call you out on it. And I'm like calling you out. Like, if you're an empath and you found this podcast, I'm calling you out. Master your energy. It don't matter what they're doing out there. What matters is what's going on inside of you that is causing a reaction. That is energy mastery. That's what it's like to be an empath. To use that sensibility, that intuitive knowing, those insights to enhance your life. Not bring you down. That's not what it's there for. That's not what it's there for. That's the ego telling you that, oh, this is just such a curse being an empath. Because I remember seeing some people saying it was a curse. I'm like, yeah, if you look at it like that from the ego, of course it's a freaking curse, because then everybody's against you, and they're not. They're too busy living their own lives. They actually don't even give a shit about you. It's you looking for something that you're missing inside yourself. So for the love of freaking Christmas trees, please end the cycle of victimization. I mean, you can even look it up and it will tell you there's the savior, there's the perpetrator, there's the rescuing. And ask yourself, where am I trying to save somebody that I'm trying to save myself? And I can give you a perfect example how it weighs you down. I mean, this one's a little abstract, but I was having a conversation with my mentor, and she said there was like a heaviness in my heart. And there was a part of me, like I know my actual great-grandmother and my grandmother and my mother, there was a hard way of going. You can think of like these women going through World War I, World War II, the stories that you hear. Like, it's really a harsh survival mode kind of thing. And I guess somewhere along the line, I thought, oh my God, I got to save these people. So that attachment of saving people, I can't save them. They're like all gone, right? I can't fucking save them. There's no way. So I had to let that go. Like, it's an attachment. You need to let those attachments go, or they're going to weigh you down. They're going to keep you in a cycle of this perpetuating thing. It just never goes away until you see it for what it actually is. It's just there for your growth, to end the seeking and go within and find it there. So I hope that's helpful. I really was excited to do this one because this has been on my mind for like a long time. The energy of the empath, the way it stands today, is so gross. It makes me sick. I don't even like to say that I'm an empath, but I can't help it. I actually am. But you can use that pattern of victimization to open up into something else, to become the oracle, to not let the outside world influence you unless there's something you need to get out of it, to unravel more of this pattern, because it runs pretty deep. And it hangs his hat off of people pleasing. Like, that's ultimately it. You want to please everybody in sight just for the sake of survival, so that they accept you. You don't want to be rejected, and I totally get that. I totally get it. We never want to be rejected from the group. But there comes a time and place where you have to say, you know what? I'm done with this. I'm here for a reason. I won't be rejected. And even if you are, it's about them. It's got nothing to do with you. You need to know that within your own being, that you are worthy. You're here. The fact that you're here means everything. You don't need somebody else's approval. You just need to approve of yourself. And that's the bottom line. We've been taught not to approve of ourselves. We're taught to shame ourselves and guilt ourselves and all that stuff. And that's probably why there's so much victimization of ourselves. And anyway, so that's what I have for you today in this podcast. Like I said, I was super excited to do it. I really feel passionately about that it just comes down to energy mastery. And you're not mastering anything when you're perpetuating the same cycle of saving and rescuing and all that stuff. You are the oracle in your relationship, and it's time that people started to see that you have full authority and power over your own energy. You have the power to say no. You have the power to say yes to anything. You know, it's well within your realm. You're worthy to make these decisions. You wouldn't be here on this earth if you weren't worthy. You are allowed to have a great life. Forget what other people have told you. We've been so conditioned by society and how we're supposed to live our life. And in the end, you're living somebody else's life, and half the time you don't even know who the hell you are. But yet you use this empath thing as a crutch. You can't do it because you're just too sensitive. It's just crap. It's just such crap. It's not even funny. But I digress, and that's just my perspective on the empath. You can either be an empowered one or empty. It's entirely up to you. There's no judgment. No judgment. This is just me standing on my soapbox on the roof, looking out, seeing the perspective of what society has, and my perspective of going into it and feeling it and saying, no, that's just not going to work anymore. So I love working one-on-one with married women intimately. I find we are lacking intimacy in relationships with ourself. First of all, you can't be intimate with anybody unless you're intimate with yourself. And I don't mean frickin' sexually. I mean in your heart, in your body, in your soul, in your spirit. So I love working with women so they can gain their understanding of how they're operating now by society standards and how they innately can operate within their own operating system by bringing back love into their lives. So if you have any questions or comments, or you want to do a conversation, by all means, I left my email address in the show notes, and I invite it. You know, if this episode triggered you, hallelujah. I'm happy to be that for you. And let's talk about it. So until next time, please take care and enjoy your relationship. Believe me, it's all we have. So till then, next time. Bye for now.